Mackenzie Shirilla deliberately drove her car into a brick wall at 100 miles per hour, killing her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and his friend, Davion Flanagan. The crash, which occurred on July 31, 2022, was not an accident, but a calculated act of murder. Surveillance footage and evidence from the car's black box revealed her intent, showing she accelerated without braking, targeting an isolated industrial area where no one could intervene. Judge Nancy Margaret Russo emphasized that Shirilla's decision to drive her car into a brick wall at 100 miles per hour was not reckless or accidental. It was an act of deliberate murder. The judge described Shirilla's actions as controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful.
Mackenzie alone decided to push the pedal to the floor and demand the ultimate speed of that vehicle to 90 to 100 miles per hour. She alone decided what was to be. Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day, and she alone made that decision for Dominic and Davion, and she continuously acted in a manner to achieve her purpose. Whether or not she intended to also kill herself is a matter of speculation that have no relevance to the weighing of the evidence in this case. The totality of the evidence clearly demonstrates that Mackenzie Shirilla acted purposely and intentionally in the early morning hours of July 31st, 2022, and her purpose was to kill Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. No reasonable fact finder could view the totality of this evidence in this case and come to any other conclusion. Her actions were controlled, methodical, deliberate, intentional, and purposeful. This was not reckless driving. This was murder. Court renders the following verdicts.
Mackenzie Shirilla was sentenced to 15 years to life in prison after being found guilty of multiple charges, including murder, felonious assault, aggravated vehicular homicide, drug possession, and possession of criminal tools.
Count 1. The court, having had count 1 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02a, is charged in count 1. Count 2. The court, having had count 2 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Davion Flanagan, in violation of Ohio Revised.
During the sentencing of Mackenzie Shirilla, her mother, Nancy Shirilla, delivered an emotional plea for leniency that angered many in the courtroom. Addressing the judge, Natalie insisted that the crash was a terrible, tragic, nightmare accident and vehemently denied that her daughter could have deliberately caused the deaths of Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. She described Dominic as the love of her life and claimed Mackenzie would never, ever murder the love of her life. Her focus on portraying Mackenzie as a grieving young woman who had lost her boyfriend angered some attendees.
Code Section 2903.02a is charged in count 2 of the indictment. Count 3, murder. The court, having had count 3 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02b, as charged in count 3. Count 4, murder. The court, having had count 4 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of murder, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.02b, as charged in count 4. Count 5, felonious assault. The court, having had count 5 tried to it pursuant to waiver, finds the defendant, Mackenzie Shirilla, guilty of felonious assault, to wit Dominic Russo, in violation.
His father, Stephen Shirilla, maintained a low profile during the proceedings but was present to support his daughter. Both parents stood by Mackenzie throughout the trial, maintaining her innocence and expressing their unwavering support. Shirilla's actions in the lead-up to the crash revealed her calculated intent. Scouting the route, days before the crash, Shirilla visited the Industrial Parkway, a secluded area that ensured minimal interference from other vehicles or pedestrians. Accelerating to death, data from the car's black box showed that she pushed the accelerator to its maximum, reaching a speed of 100 miles per hour, with no evidence of braking. Targeting victims, testimony during the trial revealed that Shirilla and Russo had a volatile relationship. Prosecutors argued that the crash was a deliberate act to kill Russo, potentially as a result of tension between the couple. Timing. The crash occurred early in the morning, a time when the streets were quiet, and any chance of witnesses or intervention was minimal. Following the crash, Shirilla exhibited behavior that prosecutors described as callous. During the investigation, she asked authorities if her license could simply be suspended for 10 years, shocking given the gravity of her actions. Judge Russo dismissed any speculation about Shirilla's potential desire to die in the crash as irrelevant, affirming that even if she intended to kill herself, it did not excuse the murders of Dominic Russo and Davion Flanagan. The judge held Shirilla solely responsible for the tragedy, stating, "She alone made the decision to drive the car, to push the pedal to the floor, and to demand the ultimate speed of the vehicle."